Hi, I'm Denise Robitaille. Let me tell you a little bit about our root cause analysis video. Root cause analysis is the basic link to corrective action. Without an effective root cause analysis, it's impossible to come up with a good corrective action plan.
Enjoy this preview of Introduction to Root Cause Analysis with Denise Robitaille.
Hi, I'm Denise Robitaille. I'm the author of Root Cause Analysis, Basic Tools and Techniques. And today we are going to be talking about root cause analysis. Very important process to make sure that you can uncover the cause of problems in your organization. These are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about what root cause analysis actually is, who should be involved in this process, the difference between evaluation and root cause analysis, tools, the resources that we need in order to be able to really get to the root cause, and then how that process all looks when we put it all together. Let's talk a little bit about interviewing. People do not have uniform comfort in terms of interviewing, so you want to help them by giving them a few tips on how to do some interviewing. This helps the process owners to better be able to describe the status quo. So when you go out there and you explain to them the purpose of that, again, we have got to dispel this whole attitude of blame throughout this entire process. Everything that we do, when we go looking for records, when we do interviewing at different stages, we want to ensure that we always have an attitude that dispels this whole notion of blame. So as part of that interviewing, the purpose is to gather objective evidence, again, to ask people what they do in such a way so that you see whether or not it indeed does conform to the documented requirements, and allows you to ultimately walk away with a better understanding of how that process is indeed implemented, how the requirements are applied. Some of the things that you want to ensure is that you inform people the purpose of your investigation. You tell them that you want to observe their work. And that's a big deal. A lot of people, all of us have that discomfort level with having someone come up behind us and they were observing us, and all of a sudden we realize somebody's been watching us for a while, and it's a very, very uncomfortable feeling. So if you're going to watch someone and say, you know, this is what the process says over here, I just want to watch you and see, you know, if you're following these steps so that we can understand how this particular part of the process plays out. And in doing that, you dispel some of their discomfort and you get to watch the process. Ask open-ended questions, so that you ask them questions where it's something other than a yes or no answer. You ask them questions that allow them to better explain what they do. You want to ask the questions that elicit a more complete response. You ask them questions about why they do things, how they do things. You ask them questions about what happens when they finish with the process, where does it go next? And all the way through this, make sure that you write down the answers. So teach your people some of these little tips that they need in order to be more comfortable in the interviewing process. Also, give them this one additional tip, and that's to look directly at people when you're speaking with them, so that you don't, for example, start hearing what you want to hear rather than what they're actually telling you. This is what it might look like once it's populated. Anything that had to do with, for example, raw material. For example, you can see in that box it says, you know, the material was defective, or we got in wrong components. We had material that had an expired shelf life. So those are materials issues. Under the manpower, you might have absenteeism issues, communications issues, problems with training. All of those fit into that box. A little tip with this is that you might have things that might fit into more than one box. In that case, you put it into the box where it seems to make the most sense. And that would be the case with the next one, where this has to do with machinery here. And so we have machinery downtime, and we had a bottleneck in the production. We might have something else that says, oh, the instruments on that piece of equipment are not reading properly. Some people might say, well, that's a measurement issue, and they'll want to put it down in the box down here. This one here relates to measurement. Or they might decide to leave it up in this particular area because they think of it more in terms of machinery, because the people who PM the machines are also the ones who calibrate the instrumentation. You get to decide what particular box to put it in that makes the most sense for you. So all the stuff that came out of your 5 whys, all the stuff that came out of your brainstorming has to find a home in one of these particular boxes. So for example, looking at this one, all the stuff that had to do with materials, here again we see that list where we've got issues having to do with whether or not it's environmentally sensitive, whether or not it exceeded its shelf life, whether or not it's the wrong component. But then the next thing beyond that is now we've said, okay, these are all the things that might have gone wrong, but then we need to say, where do we get the answers to those questions? Now we figure it out. We started out with this very free-forming investigation that said, you know, these are all the things that might have gone wrong. Then we've organized all of that. And now we ask the question, well, where do we go to get the information that's going to tell us whether or not what we have conjectured either is part of the problem or whether or not it is disallowed as part of the problem? For example, these are examples of all the records and documents that we might look to help us better understand whether or not that which we have conjectured is indeed part of the problem. So join us for root cause analysis.
The Introduction to Root Cause Analysis training video is available at PatonProfessional.com.